All right, this is a quick introduction to the project of altering pants. There is 6 projects to go along with this entire thing, and they can all be done on one pair of pants. First, the criteria for selecting your pants. Students need to purchase a pair of pants that are female. Women's pants are going to provide you with the shallow pocket here. When they purchase their pants, they need to make sure that there actually is an existing pocket, but it is not sewn shut. That's what you'll see sometimes. So it needs to be an existing pocket, and it needs to be a shallow pocket. The second thing I would advise is that they actually get a full size pant all the way down. This is a pair of capri jeans. You can ignore that, but they do need to get something that's all the way down. I'd also encourage them to not turn them into quarter length, not turn them into shorts. They should probably stay a jean length, if not maybe just like at the lower part of the calf. Now, for the actual projects themselves, the first project that is in this unit is adjusting the hem of the jean. Now, this method uses the existing hem and it just moves it up a little bit. Now, that's the reason that you want to choose a pant, because if you try to move this existing hem way up here, the width changes and it's going to alter the pant. It's going to end up squeezing it in. You're going to get puckers. It's not going to look real good. Okay, so that's what I encourage you guys for the actual hem. The second part of this becomes doing your pocket extensions. Now, for the pocket extension, this is pretty simple. You're going to need an additional fabric that you're going to use to actually extend this pocket. It needs to be a thin, kind of lightweight cotton, probably a quilter's cotton of some kind, so that it'll be easy to sew. It doesn't have any stretch. And it doesn't really matter what you choose, because it's going to be hidden. It doesn't matter. So I have this leftover tie-dye here. I could use this. If I didn't like the color, I could just flip it over and use the back. Doesn't really matter, but that's what you're going to want to get your hands on. The next part would be the actual patch. So for this, students are going to actually cut a hole in the pant. It's going to be about a quarter size up to 2 inches. I would not go larger than that. The other thing is, for beginners, they need to cut their hole somewhere in this area, here, or maybe just below the pocket, but not close to the middle, maybe off to the side. We don't want to get anywhere that has too much stretch and give. And the reason for that is beginners will not have to take out any other part of the jean. Their sewing machine can get right under here and they can complete the work. For your intermediate sewers, or advanced depending, you can have them do a patch further down. And you can have them take out the side seam and go ahead and patch it and close up the side seam if they'd like. That works out just fine. So we have the hem, we have the pocket, we have the patch. The next thing becomes these belt loops here. So for the patch, what you want to do is get another piece of denim. So it can be from a scrap pair of jeans. It can be from anything. I actually have this piece just laying around. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. It can also be from a separate type of fabric. So this is what it looks like with some different type of fabric in there. This is what it looks like with the actual just denim in there as normal. It's up to you, kind of what you choose, but it should be something that's a little bit sturdy, a little bit thicker, and a non-stretch denim is what I would encourage. Now for the belt loop project in this unit. This is a little interesting. You got to kind of decide on what you want your students to do. Is it more about the skill, or do you want them to complete the whole entire thing? So for the beginners, what you're going to do is have them remove a set amount of belt loops. Maybe it's all of them, maybe it's 2. They're going to remove them. And in some cases, they're just going to sew them right back on. That might be what they do. Or maybe they remove 2 and sew 2 right back on. And that's just the skill. We want them to learn how to remove and sew them back on, because if they do get to the point in their alterations where they do learn to take in pants, they're going to have to adjust and move these loops. And for this purpose, in the assignment, they are expected to measure the distance between the existing loops. Now, as you kind of progress into the intermediate or advanced area, what those students are going to do is they're going to start making their own new loops. So maybe they just want to embellish an existing pair of jeans. They can take off these loops and redo them in a separate colored denim, or maybe a thicker material. This is actually like a thicker upholstery material, and create some type of an embellishment for the jean. So they'd remove all of them, they'd create the new belt loops, and then they'd sew them all back on. Again, you kind of decide what the quantity or what that looks like for your students for the purposes of this project. So the 4 primary projects then are changing the hem, increasing the pocket size, putting a patch in, and moving the belt loops. There's 2 additional projects here. You can see them as optional. It just really depends on what you'd like to do. The first one is moving these buttons. So, for instance, what happens is maybe you need to change the size of this pant, but you don't want to actually alter it. You get about a 1/2 inch maximum adjustment you can do before you have to alter them. So in this case, what would happen is the students would remove these riveted buttons, and they would actually sew on new buttons. In the project of sewing on the buttons, they learn how to do a 4-hole, a 2-hole, and a single shank button stitching. So they can choose any button they like. But these would pop off and not be reused, and then you'd put these on in it. So they're either going to sew them right where these were, or if they'd like to shorten the jean a little bit and bring it in just a little bit, they can basically sew these right next to where those existing buttons are. The maximum I'd take those in is a 1/2 inch. Again, it just creates some messiness in the crotch if you go too far to the left or too far to the right. Once you get to that point, you really need to take them in and alter them completely. So that pretty much sums up all the projects. They have hemming, they have pocket extensions, they have patching, they have belt loop removal or changing, they have darning a hole in denim, and they have the button changing or removal. I hope that you enjoyed this project. It is 5 weeks of plans, depending on how you adjust it for your beginning to intermediate students. And let me know how it turns out.